Okay, welcome to Four Habits of Powerful Teaching and Learning. The focus here is on student learning communities, and we're going to be visiting a teacher's classroom, and we are here as a BERC team to just provide some thoughts along the way. Hope you find this helpful.
Okay, girls and boys, so today we are going to do an activity that includes having to do with our SEL Ready to Learn skills, social emotional learning. Hands down for 1 second, Riley. Let me explain first, okay? We've been talking a lot about social emotional learning in the classroom and also about making friends and becoming a class family. One of the things we talked about is what we all
I like that she's talking about becoming a class family.
The word common means belonging to, needed by, or shared by two or more individuals or things by all members of a group. And that's super important because the more you have in common with someone, the more likely you'll feel comfortable with them and become their friends.
Yeah, I noticed she's talking about social support here. Dr. Baker, will you enlighten us a little bit about that?
Well, just a social support for learning, like that's like basically the fourth habit, ready to learn, is really a lot about creating that environment where kids feel safe, they feel connected. I love that she's talking about, when we talk about student learning communities, student learning communities is referring to the whole classroom, and then there's student learning teams where the students can be working in smaller groups together. And so right now, what I love is she's talking about the whole classroom as a family, as friends. And we talk about this a lot, but what I like here is an example of saying one of the ways we can become friends, it sounds like this is where it's going, is to talk about things we have in common. So I think that that's a pretty cool way to do it, because you could just say, hey, we should all be friends, we should be one big happy family, but the truth is you have to do something about it. So it looks like today, they're saying we've been talking about SEL, but today it's kind of moving into it. I'm not sure exactly where it's going, but it sounds like she's referring to, like, we're going to talk about things we have in common today.
About in this classroom, there is no such thing as a stranger, just friends we have not yet met. Correct. So today, our learning target is I can learn about what I have in common with my group of friends. Okay? So today you're going to go ahead, we're going to put you into 3 different groups with your turn and talk groups. And this is your assignment, so listen carefully.
It sounds like we're going to learn how she's going to organize students in groups in a few minutes here.
Yeah, plus when she says we're going to get into our turn and talk groups, that sounds like sort of a routine and something that they might be used to. It's not the very first time they've done it. She's actually taught them how to do it, it sounds like. So we're going to get into our turn and talk groups. And what I find interesting here, we're talking about like student learning communities and welcoming and environment and all that. And but she's still a pretty direct teacher. Like when the student raised their hand, she says, like, go ahead and put your hands down for now. It's kind of like it's okay to have expectations. I like it. It's like, no, we have expectations. I'm going to go ahead and talk for a little bit. You just hang on to that. And then she's kind of going through it. And so she's got her learning target. She's telling them we're going to be talking about, there's no such thing as a stranger, just friends we haven't met yet. And now I like that she went over the learning target, and she's going to put them into teams, which is part of the routine. So she's kind of taking charge of the class, but it sounds like she's going to turn it over to them, to do some work here in a bit.
Today, you will get with your group, and you have to have a discussion, turn and talk discussions, about what you have in common with someone in that group. And all of you have to decide what's the thing you all have in common. But I would like you to get a little more specific this time. Let me give you an example. Let's say that Riley and I have a discussion, and I say, hey Riley, what do you like to do? Do you have a favorite season? And he says, yeah, I love winter. And I can say, I love winter too, right? So we have that in common. But let's dive even deeper, Riley. Maybe I'll say to Riley, well, what do you like to do in the winter? He might say, I like to ski, Gavin. And I'll say, Riley, I like to ski too. Well, we can dive even deeper than that. Where do you go skiing, Riley? And he might say, Loon Mountain. I go to Loon Mountain too. You can even dive deeper. What do you wear when you're skiing, Riley? I wear a helmet. I wear a helmet too. So does that mean we have something in common?
What color is your helmet?
Right, what color is your helmet? That's awesome. Mine's pink. What color is yours? Yours is pink too, right? Yeah? With the racing stripe? Yeah, that's even awesome. When do you go on Saturday? I go on Saturday too. So we're gonna try to get as deep as we can with what you guys have in common. Now, that's the first part. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the timer. When that's done, your next part is you are going to have a big piece of paper and you have to make a flag. And on that flag, you are going to draw, and you can write words if you want to, a picture that represents what your group has in common.
Well, what I like about this activity is that it requires everybody to contribute. So it's very cooperative and collaborative, which is very much a part of student learning communities.
Yeah.
They have to all agree. They can't just come up with things that they like. It's something they have to have in common. So they're going to have to work together to figure out what that commonality is.
The timer may set sort of an expectation and may also have be part of their rituals and routines in their classroom. So I could see this being a habit that the teacher actually implements often in their classroom. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I use that a lot when I was teaching too. It sets the boundaries for students so they understand what the time right now is for and that there's going to be a transition coming up so they can kind of get their brains ready for that transition.
I've seen the timers. I agree with both of you guys. I've seen the timers be actually transformational. There can be a teacher that say, "I want you guys to go ahead and talk for a while," and it's sometimes harder to get the kids on track. But when there's a timer, I mean, there might be a little transition time, but when there's a timer, somebody in the group says, "Hey, man, we only got 3 minutes left. We better get going here." So I love that it's a visual timer. It's not just I've got my own timer back here. You guys better get going. Like everybody can see how much time we have here. So I think you're right on. And Brielle, the idea of being a part of a ritual and a routine, I think it's a great one. I agree with that. But here's the other thing too, is we're talking about student learning communities here, and a big part of it, the learning community is kind of that macro level, and I think she's done such a great job of talking about friends and family, and this is us together. But it sounds like we're about to move into student learning teams, which is part of the community. Like we're going to now do something as a smaller group, so I'm looking forward to seeing that as well.
Thumbs up if you think you're ready. Okay, so I have our turn and talk groups right now, so I'm going to put you guys in your turn and talk buddy groups. So over there by the SEL chill out zone, I would please like Kingston, Gia, Luna, and Lily. You 4 will be over there. Over here on this table, I would like Gavin, Emily, and Camilla. And over here in this corner, I would like Mackenzie, Lizzie, Alex, and Riley. Okay? So you may go off, you go to your spots. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the timer, and when it stops, we're going to get back together. You may go.
We can color our whole flag blue. No. Mackenzie. Who likes going to a hotel with a swimming pool and a hot tub? Me. No.
Alex, but remember, we can't say no to everything. We have to try to find something common. What do you like, Alex?
We're like going to different places on like planes.
You like somewhere on a plane? You like to fly on a plane?
Florida.
What I started to notice here too is that the teacher is taking on more of the role of a facilitator, and it's very student-led. Yeah.
Yeah, that one girl is like taking charge. Who likes to go to hotels? To the hot tub and pool. Okay, so my mind was going nuts on this last little bit. Like when she talked about, okay, this group was over by the chill out zone. That tells me they got a place, like if somebody's having a bad day or bad time, they can go and chill out over there. Like I love that. She decided I'm going to select the groups. Like she's not just letting it be a free for all. Like she had purposeful groupings. So for some reason, somehow she thought these would be good groups. The kids are moving around the room. And which is around model to learn, which I love, and they're going to draw a picture. So there's a whole bunch of things. Like what I love about student learning communities is it's kind of the delivery model. Like these student learning communities is like the delivery model for powerful teaching and learning. Here we have kids working together cooperatively. She's been really clear about the learning target. They're talking with each other, and they're going to draw a picture. That's the 4 habits. Right. And so it seems to happen pretty naturally when we can create this macro student learning community and then do the work through the micro student learning teams.
Yeah, Dr. Baker, coming from a school counseling background, I couldn't help but also notice the importance of that socio-emotional learning corner. And then this is also, you know, the actual curriculum is a socio-emotional learning lesson.
Oh yeah.
And that all fits into student learning communities, you know, developing that safe environment, setting it up that so students do want to interact with each other. They feel safe with each other. Their brain is safe, that and the whole amygdala management piece.
I love that you just said amygdala management. That is one of our favorite things to say, is like, it's not just classroom management, it's amygdala management, helping everybody feel safe and friendly and welcoming and all that. So that's great.
Well, let's go ahead and finish this little vignette, and then we can talk a little bit about, well, what may have shown up more in this classroom
Sure.
As far as student learning communities.
Snow and baby monkeys. Okay, that sounds good.
Baby monkeys in snow.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, we can make the flashlight too. This one's not too fancy.
Okay, yeah, you may go ahead. I think we're gonna start.
Should we make the house right here? Like the.
All right, the timer's off. Wait, our students.
Okay, there's a couple of subtle things that I liked in both of those shots where we didn't get to actually see the kids do too much work, but we got to see the setup for student learning community and student learning teams. But I do like when she interacted with them and kind of was making sure they were on track, that she tried to be at eye level with them. Well, the first time she was sitting down with them and kind of getting down to there, and this time she was really leaning in. And I think that's kind of important, being at eye level with the kids when we're talking to them.
I think you notice in the group that we saw before where that one girl was very active, she was definitely taking the responsibility of learning from the teacher. And I think in the student learning teams that we've seen, the students really appreciate having that responsibility and they don't take it lightly. So they're making sure that everyone's involved. Because she was asking the kid, do you agree? Do you agree? Albeit the kid said no, she was still asking.
Yeah, good call. One of the things that, you know, as we go through this, I like to look at these videos, not to say, oh, what a great teacher, or what a great lesson, but just, you know, what elements did we see that were sort of aligned with student learning communities, and definitely saw some things. It's an SEL unit and all those, and I think that we saw the macro setting up the classroom as a community. We are friends and family, and then we're going to now work together as teams. I don't know. Okay, so one of the ways my brain was thinking, and maybe it could show up more, I don't know how much the kids knew about their roles in the groups, or whether they had roles. If, you know, one of the things we talk about sometimes with student learning teams is that each one of the students could have a role, and, you know, then there's a facilitator and maybe a note taker, and you know, some of those kinds of things, whatever. And maybe we'll see that, you know, in another segment of this video. But that's where my brain was going of, you know, once they transition, do they know who's in charge of what? So it looked like, I mean, they were, you know, getting started okay. I just didn't know if they had specific roles or not.
Yeah, I think reflecting on the components of a student learning community, that interdependence piece, you know, could have potentially showed up more in this vignette. But the cool part was, as students, you know, the directions and expectations were clear. So we do know they're used to getting into groups. And when we looked around the classroom, we saw participation. So students know what they're supposed to be doing when they're in a group.
Yeah, I love the fact that they were moving around. Some of them were on tables, some of them were lounge chairs, just kind of kicking back in the living room there. And some kids were on, you know, at a table. So on the floor, we're at every level of the room there. And you know, they looked like they were leaning in. We didn't see too much of the work yet, but we know that that's where it's headed. And so the idea is, you know, sometimes we ask the kids to do the work, but we haven't set up the learning community or the learning team, and they're on their way because of both of those, I'd say.
Another thing I noticed that may have shown up more is it would have been awesome to see a turn and talk in the beginning while she was giving the example of going in deeper into the commonality. So that could have been an awesome opportunity for students to turn and talk to their learning partner and sort of practice that skill of discussion around the commonality, so that then when they got into their student learning teams, student learning
Yeah.
groups, they would have already had that practice. So that's just something else that could have shown up more and given students more
Yeah.
talk time.
And one of the things I'm a fan of within just because we're in a smaller group of 3 or 4, well, I guess 3, but if we're in a group of 4, I love starting off with just that. Like, let's talk in pairs first, and let's see what we like, and then what did you guys like, and was there anything in common there? So, yeah, and that could have been modeled maybe ahead of time before they left from the group.
Yeah, Dr. Bricker, you always refer that to as pair up and square up, and then
Yeah, yeah,
public.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Pair up, square up, wrap up.
What's great about the student learning groups as well is that they will be able to work together and have those smaller discussions, and then that's on the micro level, and then they'll be able to bring that to the macro level and bring that to the rest of the classrooms. And then, you know, what we did in the video, but we may be able to have discussions with the other groups, the other communities, and see what they may have in common, with one another. So it's great that we got to see them work on that micro level, so that there's a lot of potential to bring that to the larger group and see what they could have in common with the whole family.
Nice.
So,
I didn't even I didn't even think about where that was going to go after this. That's a great idea. That's a really good point.
And
yeah,
Brielle, since I'm the only one that has seen this this classroom clip before, that's exactly what they do. In the end, they come together, they report out, and as a class, they talk about a commonality that they all have together.
yeah, that's
Is
great.
it the pink ski helmet with the
It
stripe?
is not the pink ski helmet.
I was rooting for the pink ski helmet.
Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time and really walking through this process of thinking about, you know, what is showing up, instructional strategies are showing up in the student learning communities, and thinking about, you know, what could have shown up more. This process is a great process to think about and reflect on our own instructional practices as educators. So thank you, team, for being here today.